The entire factory floor fell silent the moment the challenge echoed through the massive building. Hundreds of employees, executives, engineers, and security guards stopped what they were doing and turned toward the center of the room. A polished steel machine stood there like an impossible beast, one that had already defeated every specialist the company had hired. Then came the humiliating announcement that made everyone hold their breath. The powerful CEO smiled with unmistakable arrogance and declared that anyone who could keep the unstable hydraulic system under control for just 10 seconds would receive $300,000. She laughed before adding that the scruffy single dad standing near the back probably wouldn't even survive 3 seconds. No one expected what happened next. Within moments, the entire room would witness something so extraordinary that not a single person would ever forget that day. Before we continue this unforgettable story, take 1 second to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who still believes kindness changes lives, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Every subscription helps us bring more emotional stories filled with hope, courage, and second chances. Morning sunlight streamed through the enormous glass windows of the manufacturing headquarters, painting long golden reflections across the spotless concrete floor. Workers hurried between assembly lines while robotic machines moved with perfect precision. Outside, expensive cars filled the executive parking lot, but one faded blue pickup truck quietly rolled into the employee section. Behind the wheel sat Graham Mercer, a tired-looking single father whose worn work boots had seen better days. His faded lunchbox rested beside him, and on the dashboard was a small drawing made with colorful crayons. It showed a smiling man holding hands with a little girl beneath a bright yellow sun. Across the top, written in uneven letters, were the words, "My hero." That drawing was made by his 7-year-old daughter, Nora, the only family he had left. Since losing his wife to a sudden illness 4 years earlier, Graham had devoted every waking hour to raising Nora alone. He worked overtime whenever possible, skipped meals whenever money became tight, and quietly ignored the constant exhaustion that settled into his bones. Every difficult day became worth surviving the moment he heard his daughter's laughter when he returned home. The company where Graham worked manufactured heavy industrial equipment worth millions of dollars. Although officially employed as a maintenance technician, many older workers secretly admitted he possessed mechanical instincts that surpassed most certified engineers. He rarely bragged, never demanded recognition, and quietly repaired impossible problems while letting supervisors take the credit. His greatest strength wasn't his intelligence but his humility. On that particular morning, however, everything felt different. Executives from around the country had gathered because the company's newest hydraulic stabilization machine had failed during final testing. Months of development and millions of dollars were at risk. The system violently overloaded every time it reached maximum pressure, threatening to destroy the entire prototype. One expert after another attempted to solve the problem. Every one of them failed. The company's ambitious CEO, Celeste Hawthorne, had built her reputation on confidence bordering on arrogance. Brilliant in business but disconnected from ordinary people, she believed expensive degrees mattered more than experience. Looking across the crowd, she noticed Graham standing quietly with grease-stained gloves tucked into his pocket. His appearance amused her. Without asking his name, she invited laughter from the audience by suggesting that if no engineer could solve the problem, perhaps the janitorial staff should try next. Several executives chuckled politely. Someone mentioned Graham had repaired impossible equipment before. Her smile grew even wider. That was when she announced the challenge. Anyone capable of stabilizing the machine manually for 10 seconds would immediately receive $300,000. Looking directly toward Graham, she mockingly implied the money would probably help him replace his old truck before he failed. The crowd laughed again. Graham didn't. He simply removed his work gloves, folded them carefully, and walked toward the machine. People whispered behind him. Some shook their heads. Others silently hoped security would stop him before he embarrassed himself. Instead, he calmly studied every hydraulic hose, every pressure gauge, every vibration traveling through the enormous structure. His eyes moved with remarkable focus. Years earlier, before life forced him into survival mode, Graham had spent nearly a decade designing industrial hydraulic systems for military rescue equipment. After his wife became ill, he abandoned his career to care for her full-time. By the time she passed away, his former company had disappeared through bankruptcy, leaving him to rebuild life from nothing. None of the executives knew any of this. To them, he was merely another maintenance worker. The countdown began. 10. The hydraulic system screamed to life. 9. Pressure surged beyond safe limits. 8. Violent vibrations shook the floor beneath everyone's feet. 7. Instead of panicking, Graham adjusted a tiny emergency valve no one else had even noticed. 6. The dangerous vibration instantly changed rhythm. 5. He repositioned one pressure lock by only a few millimeters. 4. The machine suddenly became quieter. 3. Several engineers stared in disbelief. 2. Every warning light switched from red to green. 1. Silence. Perfect, impossible silence. The unstable machine that had defeated the nation's finest specialists now operated flawlessly. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even the CEO remained frozen. Only the steady hum of the equipment filled the enormous building. After several long seconds, applause erupted like thunder. Workers who had laughed moments earlier now stood cheering. Engineers rushed toward the machine, desperately searching for hidden modifications. There were none. Graham had simply understood something everyone else overlooked. The failure had never been inside the expensive computerized control system. It had been caused by microscopic pressure imbalance created during assembly, something visible only to someone who truly listened to the machine instead of trusting computer readings alone. The applause continued. Several older employees wiped tears from their eyes. Not because of the machine. Because they finally saw someone receiving the respect he had quietly earned over many years. Celeste slowly approached Graham. For the first time since becoming CEO, she seemed uncertain. The confidence that once filled every step had disappeared. She finally learned about his previous career, his sacrifices, and the years he spent caring for his wife while raising Nora alone. Every mocking word she had spoken that morning echoed painfully inside her mind. Without cameras. Without speeches. Without public relations. She apologized sincerely. She immediately honored the $300,000 reward. Then she offered Graham an executive engineering position with complete authority over the company's maintenance innovation division. Everyone expected him to celebrate wildly. Instead, he smiled softly. His first question wasn't about salary. It wasn't about benefits. It wasn't even about his new office. He simply asked whether the new schedule would allow him to pick up his daughter from school every afternoon. The room became silent once again. That simple question reminded everyone what true success actually looked like. Weeks passed. The company transformed. Employees who once felt invisible now found their ideas welcomed. Maintenance workers participated in engineering meetings. Executives walked factory floors instead of hiding inside conference rooms. Productivity increased dramatically, but something even more valuable returned. Respect. One afternoon, the CEO quietly visited Graham's neighborhood. She expected to find a large home after his promotion. Instead, she found the same modest little house with peeling paint and flowers growing beside the porch. Through the open window she saw Graham helping Nora with homework while dinner cooked on the stove. Both of them laughed over a math problem as if they possessed everything in the world. She realized wealth had never been what made him extraordinary. Character had. Months later, during the company's annual celebration, Graham was invited onto the stage to receive an award recognizing outstanding leadership. Standing before thousands of employees, he didn't speak about machines. He didn't mention promotions. He simply said that every person carries invisible battles, and kindness often reaches farther than talent ever can. He reminded everyone that respect should never depend on clothing, job titles, or appearances, because the quietest person in the room may carry the greatest wisdom. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like, share, subscribe to Single Dad Empire, and leave a heartfelt comment. Your support allows us to continue sharing inspiring stories that remind the world compassion still exists. Special request: comment below with the words, "Respect everyone," if you believe no person should ever be judged by their appearance or job title. As the sun slowly set outside the factory, its warm golden light reflected across the same windows where the day had begun. Employees headed home carrying more than paychecks. They carried a lesson they would never forget. One arrogant challenge meant to humiliate a struggling father became the very moment an entire company rediscovered humility, compassion, and respect. Graham drove home in the same old pickup truck, smiling as Nora ran into his arms after school. The money changed his future, the promotion changed his career, but neither compared to the happiness of hearing his daughter whisper that she had always known her father was the strongest man in the world. Sometimes the greatest victories are not measured by applause, promotions, or fortune. They are measured by the quiet moments when love, dignity, and perseverance prove stronger than pride. And on that unforgettable bright morning, a humble single father didn't just win $300,000. He reminded everyone that true greatness is never announced by titles, it is revealed by character when the whole world is watching.